You have a DJI Neo 2? You want to have motion blur effects? Here's how to install ND filters and what you can expect.
The DJI Neo 2 is a beast for its size, and the straight out of the camera footage is actually impressive. Most of the time I fly my DJI Neo 2 without any filters because the image quality is solid and the sharpness is exactly what you want. But like any camera with a fixed aperture, you hit technical limits in bright sun. Your shutter speed jumps to crazy levels, and that is where you lose that natural flow. I have been testing a specific set of ND filters to see if we can push the DJI Neo 2 sensor even further. We are looking at standard ND filters, polarizers, and even a mist filter. The goal here is not to fix a broken camera, but to see if an ND filter adds enough value to justify the extra weight on this small gimbal. So during my testing, I noticed some specific things you need to watch out for. It is not just about the look. There are some hardware reactions, especially with the gimbal calibration, that every Neo 2 owner should know. In this video, I will walk you through the ND filter installation and show you the side-by-side results. We are going to find out if these ND filters are a necessary upgrade for your DJI Neo 2 or if the naked lens is enough. No hype, just a technical reality. Let's get into the setup.
Now let's talk about how to actually get these ND filters on your DJI Neo 2. I have 3 different sets from Freewell here. A standard pack, a bright day pack with polarizers and a specialized set with a mist filter. All of these kits feel very premium, so let's take a look inside. Well, first off, we get a high quality microfiber cloth, which is essential to keep both the DJI Neo 2 lens and the ND filters crystal clear. Besides the warranty card, you will find a hardcover case with 4 slots. 3 of them are for the ND filters themselves, and the 4th one holds the 2 magnetic adhesive frames. The filters actually look really cool, and you can definitely feel the high build quality when you hold them. But anyway, let's see how we get this whole thing installed. Before we start mounting or removing anything, always make sure that the power is disconnected so the DJI Neo 2 doesn't accidentally jump to life. The next step, obviously, is to take off the gimbal cover. And there it is, the heart of the DJI Neo 2. It features a 1/2 inch sensor that handles 4K at 60 frames per second, all mounted on that compact 2-axis gimbal. Before we move on, take the cloth and give the DJI Neo 2's lens a good wipe. After that, grab one of the 2 adhesive frames and carefully peel off the protective backing to reveal the sticky side. Try to be very careful here and don't touch the adhesive with your fingers, otherwise it will lose its grip. Now grab your DJI Neo 2 and hold the gimbal firmly with 2 fingers so it stays in place. With your other hand, carefully position the adhesive frame on the outer edge of the lens. You want to make sure it is perfectly centered, so if you are not sure, it is better to peel it off and reposition it again. Once it is perfect, press it down firmly, but again, be careful because the entire camera system on the DJI Neo 2 is extremely sensitive. So finally, I'll take the ND32 filter and hold it just by the edges. You basically just need to bring it close to the magnetic frame and snap! Like magic, it sits right in front of the lens. Just do a quick check to see if everything fits and if the gimbal can still move freely. Well, and that's pretty much it. The ND filter is successfully mounted on the DJI Neo 2. Here's a close-up of the ND filter and the magnetic frame while they are off the drone. You can clearly see how the frame matches the shape of the filter perfectly, which creates a seamless connection between the two. Now that the ND filter is successfully mounted, let's see what this glass actually does in a real-world scenario. You should think of an ND filter as a high-quality sunglasses for your DJI Neo 2 camera sensor. The primary job is to reduce the amount of light hitting the lens so we can take back control of the exposure settings. If you leave your DJI Neo 2 in auto mode, the drone will just crank up the shutter speed to compensate for the brightness. This results in a very sharp, choppy look where every frame looks like a frozen photograph. To get that professional flow, we need to dive into the pro settings of the DJI Neo 2. To activate these settings, simply tap the small auto icon in the bottom right corner of the DJI Fly app. The app will then switch to Pro mode. Tap then on the ISO or F figures on the lower edge of the screen and a new menu will pop up, allowing you to manually adjust your ISO, shutter speed and EV levels. Disable ISO auto by tapping on it, which allows you to change the settings by swiping left and right. First, make sure to lock your ISO at 100 to 400 depending on your light conditions, because we want the cleanest image possible without any digital grain. Then, we apply the 180-degree shutter rule to get natural motion blur. Since my DJI Neo 2 is set to a 4K with 60 frames per second, I need to set the shutter speed to exactly 1:120. On a bright day, this would normally result in a completely white, overexposed screen. But by snapping on the ND32 filter, we block enough light to make that 1:120 shutter speed work perfectly. Let's take a look at this footage comparison flying low through a forest path. Left, no filter, right with filter. Notice the smooth motion on the ground and the trees passing by? It feels much more like a high-end movie production. Even during this high-speed car chase, the movement looks organic and follows the way our human eyes perceive speed. Finally, here's another example while running over a field. Now let's talk about those professional action photos where the car stays sharp but the background turns into a blur of motion. This is a killer feature, but you need the right setup to pull it off. First, you need to put the DJI Neo 2 into focus track mode, which is only possible if you are using the digital transceiver and the RC2. If you are not sure how to set that up, definitely check out my specific guide on how to track a car with the DJI Neo 2. So for these shots, we need to dive into the camera's Pro settings once again. Just like before, we tap the auto icon in the bottom right corner to unlock the manual control. For these specific photos, we are going to use a very slow shutter speed, somewhere between 1:15 and 1:30. To show you the difference between various ISO settings, I'm intentionally leaving it on auto for a moment. This allows the DJI Neo 2 to adjust the value dynamically based on the lighting conditions. However, if you want the cleanest result, you should aim for a fixed ISO. Keep in mind that while ISO 100 is ideal for noise reduction, it might be too dark in the late afternoon when the sun is past its peak. In those cases, you'll probably need to manually bump it up to 400 to keep the exposure balanced. This is exactly where the strength of the ND filters really matters. The stronger the filter, like the ND32, the more light you can block, which allows for these longer exposures even in midday sun. The result is that the DJI Neo tracks the car perfectly, keeping it sharp, while the slow shutter blurs the environment. It completely changes the dynamic of your photography and looks way more professional than a standard drone shot. I was actually surprised to see that the electronic stabilization of the DJI Neo 2 doesn't struggle with this. Usually, a lot of motion blur can confuse the rock-steady software, but here, the footage and the photos stay remarkably stable. Just a quick tip before you take off. Since these ND filters are so tiny and you handle them near the adhesive frame, fingerprints are almost guaranteed. So make sure they are always clean before you launch. And trust me, a smudge on your ND filters is the fastest way to ruin your 4K footage. Now let's move on to the more specialized glass in these Freewell kits, specifically the CPL and the mist filter. These are not your everyday ND filters, as they change the visual character of your footage in very different ways. First, let's look at the CPL, or circular polarizer, which is designed to manage reflections and glint. So in this side-by-side comparison of the greenhouses, the effect is quite obvious if you look closely at the glass roofs. On the left side, without the filter, the sun creates a harsh white reflection that completely hides what is happening underneath the glass. On the right side, with the CPL attached, that glare is significantly reduced, making the surface look more defined and natural. But this doesn't just apply to buildings. If you are flying over water, like a lake or a river, a polarizer is usually the only way to see past the surface reflections. Without it, the water often just looks like a bright flashing mirror. It also tends to deepen the blue of the sky and makes the green tones of the surrounding trees appear more saturated. However, you have to ask yourself if this is really necessary for a drone in the hobby segment like the DJI Neo 2. Next up is the mist filter, which is probably the most subjective option in the entire lineup. As you can see in this sunset footage, the mist filter softens the digital sharpness of the 4K sensor. It creates a subtle glowing halo around the sun and other bright light sources, which is often called a bloom effect. On the left side, the standard image is very sharp and defined, while the mist filter on the right gives everything a softer, almost dreamy quality. Some people love this look because it takes away that clinical action cam aesthetic and makes it feel more like a film. Others might find it just looks slightly out of focus or washed out, so it really comes down to personal taste. Now that we have seen the visual results, let's talk about the practical side of using these filters every day. One of the most convenient features is definitely the magnetic mounting system. Since the base frame stays on the drone, you can switch between different ND filters or a CPL in just a few seconds. This is so fast and reliable that you can even perform a swap while the DJI Neo 2 is hovering right in front of you. It is incredibly practical when the lighting conditions change during a flight and you don't want to waste battery by landing just to change the filter. Well, however, there's a technical limitation that you really need to be aware of. Due to the added weight of the glass, I frequently encountered Gimbal Stuck errors during the startup sequence. It seems like the extra mass is right at the physical limit of what these tiny motors can handle during their initial calibration process. So when this happens, you can actually see the DJI Neo 2 trying to calibrate the camera. The gimbal keeps moving up and down repeatedly, struggling with the extra mass until it eventually gives up. After a few seconds of these failed attempts, the gimbal just goes limp and hangs down completely unresponsive. The only reliable fix I found for this was to perform a full reboot on the drone, which can be annoying when you are chasing the perfect light. Another point to consider is the security of the magnetic connection itself. While the magnets are strong enough for normal flight maneuvers and high-speed tilts, the filter are not mechanically locked. If you have a minor crash or even a very hard landing on uneven ground, the filter can easily pop off and disappear in the grass. Because they are so small and relatively expensive, you should be extra careful about where you fly and how you manage your landings. It is a trade-off between the cinematic quality you gain and the extra care the hardware requires in the field.
Alright folks, that's it for the ND filters on the DJI Neo 2. I hope this gave you a clear idea of how to get that cinematic motion blur and what to watch out for with the gimbal. If this was helpful, smash that like button, subscribe for more DJI Neo 2 tutorials and let me know in the comments if you think these filters are worth the hassle. So now close YouTube, grab your drone and go fly it yourself. Watching is fine, but real experience is what actually makes the difference. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, see you, bye bye.